Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken that no deal with Iran will stop Israel from defending herself. An Arab member of Knesset told a Jewish youth in Jerusalem that he wished the young man would be murdered. Which international bodies, human rights organizations, or world leaders were outraged by this clear hate speech? Absolutely no one. And for the good news of the day, the Israeli youth soccer team got third place in the World Cup under 20 just last night. I'm Josiah, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's a new week here in the land of Israel, and as usual, there's a lot going on and a lot for us to give you information about what's happening here in the state of Israel. So just last Thursday, end of the week, last week, Netanyahu had a phone call. Prime Minister Netanyahu had a phone call with the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and they discussed a multitude of things. Among them was the military cooperation between Israel and the United States. And they also discussed extensively the Iranian threat. Currently, there's a lot of talk about a new Iranian deal between the U.S. and Iran, kind of like the JCPOA, something, maybe a modified version of that. The U.S. has been talking about this for quite some time now, and they're trying to negotiate things like that with Iran. So in this call with Netanyahu, Netanyahu expressed his appreciation for the cooperation between Israel with their intelligence and their military, Israel and the United States. Really good phone call overall, but something he told Blinken, something he mentioned to Blinken during this phone call, I thought was very important to mention, and it's very encouraging to see this kind of clear, concise language coming from the Prime Minister of Israel, saying that there are red lines that Israel will not cross when dealing with a nuclear terrorist threat like the country of Iran. So Netanyahu reiterated his position in this phone call. He reiterated his position that returning to the nuclear agreement, the JCPOA, was a horrible idea, and that it's not going to stop the Iranian threat. So he told Blinken this, which a lot of people and everybody seems to know that. Everybody that has common sense realizes that that agreement was completely bogus and it was not effective at all in stopping the Iranian threat, nuclear threat. And he also said that no agreement that the U.S. reaches with Iran, he's saying that it's good that they should reach an agreement, but no agreement would stop Israel specifically from defending herself. And basically saying that no deal would obligate, like any provisions in the deal would obligate Israel to do something that would stop her from defending herself, which is really, I think, important when having this conversation about the Iranian threat, the Iranian nuclear threat with Israel, that Netanyahu and the government of Israel is very clear to their ally, to the U.S., saying, yes, we're allies, we need to work together. But here are our red lines when it comes to this nuclear threat threatening our country, the state of Israel. And actually, I just saw recently that a source within the Israeli government, a senior source, said that Israel's red line is 90% uranium enrichment from Iran. So if they reach 90% Iranian uranium enrichment, that Israel will indeed attack Iran. This seems to kind of be the line that they have set for the nuclear threat moving forward with Iran. So it's good to see that Netanyahu is being very clear in the language, talking about the threat with Iran, and that Israel is completely prepared to deal and to strike Iran should they reach that 90% uranium enrichment moving forward. So although this is a huge threat and it needs to be taken seriously by all the countries that are involved, all the countries that would be affected by this nuclear threat, Israel is definitely taking that job very seriously, definitely viewing this threat with much seriousness moving forward. Guys, first off, make sure to subscribe. We appreciate that when you click that subscribe button down below. It seems like a menial task, but it actually really helps us get out there on YouTube and get these videos out to more people. Also hit the like button, throws us into the YouTube algorithm. We really appreciate that. On the topic of Iran, it's actually very interesting to note that in Israel, in the political spectrum, You have Netanyahu, who is obviously leading the right-wing government here in Israel right now. This is the most conservative government we've ever seen in the nation of Israel. Netanyahu at the head of that, dealing with this Iran issue very seriously. But also, it's interesting to note that across the political spectrum here in Israel, when it comes to Iran and the security threat to the nation of Israel, everybody is relatively on the same page. Yair Lapid, who's the leader of the opposition right now, he was speaking at the American Jewish Committee Global Forum just the other day. He warned the U.S. not to sign any deals with Iran. So kind of the same opinion Netanyahu has on this whole Iranian issue. Lapid said, quote, on this, there is no coalition or opposition in Israel. Everybody is on the same note, telling the American administration, do not sign a bad deal. We saw what happened last time. You did it. Right now, Iran is a couple of months ago has enriched uranium to 84%. When they were asked about it, they said it was a mistake. I think on all the details and what it is, and there is no way of enriching 84% by mistake. That was Yair Lapid, basically echoing Netanyahu in the statements, saying Israel will not compromise their security on for the effect of any deal reached with the U.S. and Iran for this nuclear threat. So it's great to see that there is consensus, even though the political parties do not agree on much else, policy and different things, that for the security of the state of Israel, there is agreement. And when dealing with massive, huge threats like Iran, there is agreement that Israel's security is above all the politics and above all the disagreements that are currently taking place in Israeli politics and the government here in Israel. I want to tell you about one of the best ways you can support Israel right now. You should join the Heartland Challenge. What is the Heartland Challenge? Pick one item that you use on a regular basis and commit to only purchasing that item from Judea and Samaria. If you're wondering how in the world you can purchase products from Judea and Samaria, our friends at Blessed by Israel make it super easy for you. They source incredible products from small businesses located in Judea and Samaria and ship those products straight to your doorstep. We've partnered with Blessed by Israel to promote the Heartland Challenge, encouraging supporters of Israel from all around the world to commit to only using certain products from Judea and Samaria. So whether it's olive oil, tea, soap, ceramics, coffee, or something else, Blessed by Israel is encouraging everyone to buy what you believe in and then share the message with your community and friends. Guys, it's time to build and invest in the heartland of Israel. Join the Heartland Challenge and start making a difference today. To find out more, go to blessedbyisrael.com. That is blessedbyisrael.com to find out more. And if you use the code INVEST, INVEST, at checkout, you can get $5 off your first order. Link is in the description below. Okay, so moving on just a little bit, there was an MK, and this really kind of reflects the democracy in Israel. And unfortunately, what I'm about to talk about, this is not democracy. You can't use hate speech in this democracy. But there are Arab members of Knesset, and we've talked about that extensively here on the show. But Israel, as a democratic nation, allows the population to elect Arab representatives for them in Knesset, which I think is fine. And this is because there is an Arab population here in Israel. They need their representatives in government. What is not fine is that these members of Knesset, most, if not all of them, have direct connections to supporting terrorism, to supporting violence in the Arab sector, different things like that. And their opinions on that is completely not for the good of the state of Israel, anti-Zionistic, pro-terrorism, all these types of things. So on Thursday, in the old city of Jerusalem, the Muslim quarter, there was some protest happening there, left-wing protest, pro-Palestinian protest about the eviction of an Arab family in Jerusalem. And from what I saw in the different articles, it looks like there was a Jewish family that bought this piece of property, and there was an Arab family that was living there illegally, so they were being evicted from the property, so the Jewish family who had bought the place could move into this area. So there were demonstrations, PLO flags were being waved, and apparently several of the protesters were actually arrested because they were fighting and becoming violent with the police in that area. So MK Ofer Kasif, who is from the Arab Hadash party in the Knesset, member of Knesset, Ofer Kasif, he was there, and a Jewish youth came up to him and shouted that Jews had been murdered in the old city there. To which the MK responded that he wished he too would be murdered. This Jewish youth. So the young man walked up to the MK and yelled, "Jews were murdered here. My friend was murdered here." To which the MK replied and said, "May the same thing happen to you." And we actually have a video of this. We could play this. It was on Twitter. The Jewish youth is obviously, kind of harassing the MK, saying, "Jews were murdered here. My friend was murdered here," whatever. The MK says, "I wish you too would be murdered." And this is a leader of the country. This is a member of Knesset, a member of parliament here in Israel, saying that he wishes this Jewish youth would be murdered. This is literally the definition of hate speech. This is could be considered incitement to violence as well. The crazy thing is there is no media coverage on this particular issue. There are no, as far as I could find, no world leaders that have condemned this member of Knesset for saying this. There are no human rights organizations around the world that have condemned this member of Knesset or the party for saying something like this. No foreign bodies, international bodies that have, the UN or the UN Human Rights Council or any of these come out with statements condemning this particular speech. And I think we all know the reason for this, because hate speech only applies or is only applicable depending on who is making that speech, right? Depending on who says it, that's when we should condemn hate speech. And just to kind of show the hypocrisy here, if you remember back to when the two brothers were murdered in the Palestinian town of Hawara, there was an Israeli conservative right-wing member of Knesset, Bezalel Smotrich, who made a statement that the world went crazy over. And it even went so far that the U.S. administration, Biden's administration, ended up boycotting the visit of this member of Knesset to the United States. They boycotted completely because of a statement made by this member of Knesset. He said that the whole town of Hawara needed to be wiped out. Essentially said something like this. He later apologized for his statement and realized that it was insensitive at the time to say something like this. It was not the correct choice of words. In that statement itself, though, which we know from historical and just the facts on the ground, the relative facts on the ground, that he was not calling for Arabs to be killed. He was not calling for Palestinians to be murdered. He was saying that there had been so many attacks that had happened in that town in the recent weeks prior to his making this statement that something needed to be done. And if so, they needed to evacuate all the families from that town to make it safe for people to drive on the roads, to drive through that area without the fear of being murdered. And that was his intention there. He wasn't calling for anybody to be killed. So many people condemned him. The foreign media condemned him. And like I said, the American administration boycotted his visit to the U.S. And then we have, on the other side, this Arab MK who clearly is calling, didn't exactly call for it, but he's wishing, saying he wished that this Jewish youth would be murdered. And nobody cares. Nobody cares at all that he's making this sort of statement against this young man. I think it's just, it's infuriating. Unfortunately, it's not unexpected, because if you know any of the media, it's happening in the U.S. Same thing, right and left. When the right says something, it's bad and it's a big deal. When the left says the same thing, it's not a big deal, and it's not hypocritical. It's exactly hypocritical. If you're going to apply this sort of standard across the board, it needs to be applied across the board. So that's just a little bit of happening in Jerusalem last week, and something I saw that really needs to be talked about because nobody else has talked about, and the fact that there are Arab members of Knesset who are against the existence of the state of Israel as a Jewish state. They're against the existence of any Jews anywhere in Israel, and also, supporting terrorism, anti-Zionistic, all this kind of stuff happening right in Israel's parliament, in the Knesset. Kind of crazy. All right, guys, so for the good news of the day and kind of a more lighthearted note, the Israeli youth soccer team placed third in the World Cup U20 tournament. So it was kind of an upset, and people were not expecting this, but the Israeli team shocked everyone after making it into the semifinals of the World Cup U20 tournament. I think they beat Brazil and Japan and Uzbekistan, finally made it to the semifinals. They were beaten by Uruguay, And then Uruguay actually ended up winning the World Cup, beat Italy. But so then Israel played South Korea, beat South Korea, and ended up getting third place overall in the whole World Cup tournament. So I thought that was rather interesting to see that with the Israeli team. Nobody was really expecting them to do this well, and they got third place overall. The president of Israel tweeted his congratulations to the team and said, quote, "Congratulations to the Israeli youth soccer team for a historic achievement, third place in the World Cup. You are ending a wonderful and exciting journey, and we are all proud of you." Yep, for all you Americans who watch soccer, who are viewing the World Cup under 20, this is you know already what I just told you with the Israeli soccer team winning third place. I thought that was rather exciting for the state of Israel. Big achievement for the state of Israel. I personally don't watch soccer, so it's not really that exciting to me, but for the state of Israel, it's a big achievement. All right, guys, make sure to subscribe and get the conversation going down below. And remember, as always, tune out that fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. Remember, we'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.